First 30 minutes or so, maybe a little bit less than that, will be our annual general meeting. And then followed by that, we have a special presentation by Jeremy Kazub on his Aurora camera. And we have a ton of observations tonight. So hang in there and we're going to get things underway. So next slide, please, Chris. A couple of security things here, just to remind you that please do not click on any links that might appear in the chat or Q&A windows. They could be some nefarious people trying to point you in the wrong direction. So if you need to ask a question or to the panelists, or there's a question when it comes to the annual general meeting about any particular motion, please use the Q&A window, not the chat window for that. Okay. Next one. So here's tonight's program. I'm almost done my introduction, and I'm going to turn it over to our chief here, Stephen Norris, who will take us through the AGM. After that, Ottawa Skies for December, and then Jeremy is going to be talking about his self-contained Aurora camera of a break, followed by observation challenges and announcements. So thank you for coming out here tonight, folks. And I'm going to highlight Stephen here because he's going to be in charge for the next little while. There we go.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I will try and move this through. I know this isn't a lot of people's favorite part of our meeting programs, but unfortunately, it's a very necessary one. Just a couple of things. There will be a Zoom poll coming up very shortly, administered by Chris Tarrant. This is needed to establish quorum. So what we need to do is on that Zoom poll, let us know if you are an RASC Ottawa Centre member. So if you could quickly do that, that will allow us to proceed.
Chris, you'll have to add the panelists into this because we don't get the poll.
Correct. And while not everyone has answered yet, we far exceed quorum already.
Yeah, about saying, I think once we get to quorum, we can move on. For the remainder of the annual general meeting, we'll be kind of going by what's turned into a normal Zoom protocol on voting. In other words, we're talking negative responses. So when we do a vote, in the absence of nobody indicating either in the Q&A session that they are in opposition, we will assume that people have voted positively. It's just much easier to keep a whole tally of things by doing it that way. Also, when we get to items where people need to propose any additional agenda items or changes, please use the Q&A to respond and propose, or wait until the other business at the end. During the AGM, all mics are going to be muted. However, if you do need to ask a question, please use the Q&A. And if you include the fact in that Q&A that you desire to also speak to the question, include that in your Q&A remark. We do have the ability to turn the mic on for any individual person, even in this webinar environment. However, we have to know that you would like to speak. Okay, moving along. Adoption of the agenda. We need someone to move for the adoption. Do we have anyone? Dave Chisholm, I see, and a seconder, Gordon Webster. So again, looking at our normal Zoom protocol, are there any objectors to adopting this motion? And hearing and seeing none, Chris?
I see none.
All right. Let's move along. The minutes of last year's meeting were recently circulated, trying to make sure everybody had a opportunity to read them. If there are no questions or comments, I would be looking for a motion to adopt. Again, Andrea?
Yes, I move to adopt.
And seconder.
I'll second that, Richard Taylor.
Okay, thank you. And once again, anyone a negative vote? So we'll give people a chance to respond if they so wish. I don't see anything. Chris, do you?
No, there is no Q&A.
Okay. The president's report is yet next. However, before we get into the president's report, I don't know whether anyone has seen the latest reports out of SETI. Very, very interesting. They've actually managed to decode a message back to us, and it's very surprising. And on that note, we'll move into the president's report. Assuming the presidency in the middle of a pandemic has brought its own unique set of challenges to the position and to the center. Fortunately, I've had the help and support of a fabulous team of volunteers. Here, I'm not only talking about my fellow council members and the named volunteers in various appointed positions, but everyone who has rolled up their sleeve and pitched in so many ways. Naming everyone would simply take too long, and I know I would be sure to overlook someone if I tried. So instead, please simply accept my gratitude. I continue to be amazed at the talented individuals within our center, not only with the stunning quality of the astronomical images, but in so many other ways. Some members are regular contributors to citizen science initiatives, providing valuable data to the research community. Others are designing and building their own astronomical equipment, circuitry, programs. There are several home remote observatories in the area. Members' knowledge is readily available, evident in the talks given and the advice freely provided in the email exchanges, both of which make our astronomical community stronger. We are fortunate as well to be in good financial shape, which has enabled us to continue improving how we serve our members. The two main areas here are at the Fred Lossing Observatory, FLO, and our website, both of which I will touch on later in this report. Ongoing COVID-19 restrictions required us to continue having our monthly meetings virtually. Thankfully, our meeting chair, Dave Chisholm, and Chris Tarrant on the technical side have got the process down pat, and the operation is running smoothly over Zoom. A big thank you to RASC National for the use of their Zoom account for the hosting. Our initial high numbers of virtual participants has settled back though, and we are now holding steadily at roughly pre-COVID-19 levels, a likely result of Zoom fatigue and the desire once again to have physical meetings with the additional interaction attendant with them. Also flourishing, despite the pandemic, is our monthly newsletter, Astronauts. Our editor, Gordon Webster, somehow manages to source an ever-increasing number of interesting articles and keep things fresh. Similarly, COVID-19 restrictions scuttled our annual dinner meeting for the second year and has forced continued cancellation of our very popular public star parties. We remain hopeful that when the warmer weather returns in 2022, so can they. With vaccination numbers increasing and the easing of some restrictions, we have had some distance member star parties at FLO in the latter part of the year. That's, of course, when the weather also cooperates. Despite the restrictions, Dave Chisholm has continued with his remarkable virtual outreach program, enhancing the lives of over 270 youth and 30 adults this year. Speaking of FLO, 2021 marked the 50th anniversary of its establishment, an event celebrated on September the 11th with a get-together by over 75 people. The main architects of this great event were Gordon Webster and Rick Scholes, although as usual, they had a lot of assistance. Music, telescope clinics, sketching workshops, observatory tours, conversation and equipment demonstrations filled the day, all topped off with a barbecue and, of course, cake. The good news being the rain held off. The bad news being things ended up earlier than hoped, as the cloudy skies did not allow for viewing that night. Nevertheless, a great event was had by all. Did I mention there was cake? The original Fred Lossing 16-inch telescope also turned 50 years old this year. Although retired from service at FLO in 2017, it has now found new life at the North Frontenac Dark Sky site. Provided by the Ottawa Centre on permanent loan to the Township of North Frontenac, it has been lovingly restored by them and installed in a new purpose-built observatory at the site. Public first light was at a ceremony there on August the 14th, which I was fortunate enough to attend, along with a few other Ottawa Centre members, especially as there was, you guessed it, cake. Continuing with the FLO theme, thanks to our observatory director, Rick Scholes, and a host of volunteers, it has had another exceptional year of maintenance, upgrades, and installations. The entrance road has never been so good after the brushing and additional gravel work. The issues with the Paul Commission telescope systems have been resolved, and the Rolf Meyer telescope is happily installed in its relocated observatory. There are new side guides on the Mike Wirth telescope's roll-off roof, new electrical panel in place, power to the Paul Commission telescope and the Rolf Meyer telescope, and the observing mounds have been expanded and improved. And that's just the major items. Looking to make a decision on heading out to FLO for some observing? Well, there's a new aid to help you out. Head over to Andre Paquette's website. There you will find he is now displaying the output from his personal weather station located less than 1 kilometer away. Also conveniently on the same site page is the FLO Clear Sky Talk. Thank you, Attila Danko, and current satellite imagery, giving you all the decision-making tools you need in one convenient location. Sadly, in this report, I also have to mention the passing of 3 members since the last president's report. Thomas Ray, Michael James, and Paul Shepard. They will be missed. The Ottawa Centre has been taking an active role in ensuring the former Dominion Observatory on Carling Avenue here in Ottawa suffers as minimal impact as possible from the proposed new Ottawa General Hospital campus being constructed adjacent to it. A dedicated group of volunteers has done tremendous work in documenting the history of the Dominion Observatory, attending planning meetings, lobbying politicians, making applications for historical designations, along with other efforts. I am pleased to say that at this time, it appears that things are looking positive, although as usual, some work remains to bring things to a conclusion. I would like to thank Mick Wilson for the tremendous effort put into the Centre website. If you have not been on it lately, I encourage you to take a look. The breadth and depth of the content available on it is truly amazing. Equally amazing to me is the way that it is indexed, cross-referenced, and searchable. I still don't have a full grasp of all of what it is capable of, and I urge you to check it out yourself. A few years back, the wheels were put in motion to give special recognition to the many years Brian McCullough has given the Ottawa Centre astronomy education and public outreach. It was with great satisfaction this year that we finally saw him honored with an asteroid named after him. Somewhere out in the main asteroid belt lies asteroid 10059 McCullough, 1988 FS2. I look forward to seeing the first image of it to be shown in our monthly meeting observations. Way back when we were able to have in-person meetings, a fixture of the meetings was the coffee, drinks, and treats served up by Art and Ann Fraser at their conclusion. There was never a time I could not remember them being there. Turns out that would be because they've been doing it for 40 years. They have now decided that it's time to step away from the coffee pot and let someone else continue the tradition. They will forever be one of my fond memories. And on that note, I will conclude my president's report with a tip of the hat to Art and Ann and a hearty thank you to them for all that they have done over the years and continue to do for the Centre. In person, there would have been cake. Thank you. Now, everybody's probably getting very tired of listening to me, but unfortunately, our president, David Parfait, had to resign earlier this year due to a conflict with his new job. So I will also be presenting the financial statements for the year ended September the 30th, 2021. The figures here that we'll be presenting, oh, hang on, back up, I got out of order. First thing, according to Tris, who is always keeping me honest, is the 2019-2020 Auditor's Report, which I will let everybody read for a moment. Okay. So that was the auditor's report. The numbers we're presenting here. Oh, okay. The numbers that we are presenting here is a summary report of the financial statements for the 2021 season or fiscal year. If anybody desires a copy of the full report, please contact the secretary, and you will, of course, be provided with a full copy, detailed copy of the report. So, as of September 30, 2021, our total revenue was $12,756. The cost of goods sold, $2,790. Our operating costs were $9,593, resulting in a net income, including depreciation, of $372. Depreciation itself was $4,146. So our net income, not including depreciation, was $4,518. Next slide, please, Chris. We started out the beginning of the year with total assets, liabilities, and equity of $87,918. Now, our current assets stand at $68,970, capital assets $21,700, for a total assets of $90,670. Our current liabilities are at $2,380. Our retained earnings, $88,290. So we finished the year with our total liabilities and equity of $90,670. Next slide.
Stephen, there is a question for you here from Gordon Dewis. What is being depreciated?
Depreciation is on FLO, and our loan library, our telescope loan library, and some telescope equipment as well. Again, if you wish a copy of, thanks, Gordon. And again, if you wish, we can send you a copy of the full financial report, which breaks that down fully. We do have a restricted fund. We set this up at the beginning of the pandemic to potentially assist members who may have had financial difficulty in renewing. We have had, as you can see, very minor amount of usage from that fund. However, we've kept it in place just in case anybody else shows up who needs some assistance. The center has, for all intents and purposes, no issues with ongoing financial viability. Our funds are good. We are meeting our obligation under a CRA charitable organization, and our filings are up to date at this time. And with that, are there any further questions? If not, I'd like to see about a motion to approve the 2020-21 financial
We have a
statements.
motion to approve from Gordon Dewis.
Thank you, Gordon. And a seconder. I see.
I see Gordon Webster.
Yep.
See his big hand.
Yeah. Right. And once again, our negative Zoom vote. We'll just wait for a moment to see if there are any objections. I would say not, so we can continue on. Paul Sadler, who carried out our audit last year, has agreed to continue in that role. So I need a motion to appoint Paul as the 2021-22 auditor. I see Dave Chisholm.
I see Andrea as a
seconder. And once again, we'll wait a moment to see if there's any negative votes. Being so, let's move on. We're now moving into the election of officers, councillors, national council reps, and the meeting chair. Normally, this function would be done by Mike Mogadan. Unfortunately, Mike is not available. He's out in Calgary. So you're once again stuck with me. So here is but Mike did put together a very good slate of individuals. So here is the proposed slate of executive and council members.
Stephen, if I can intervene for a second and admit an error on this slide, you can talk to, and that's in the National Council of Reps.
Yes, unfortunately, at the last minute, Paul Sadler, for personal reasons, has had to step aside from the National Council rep. He was going to be in year 2 of his 2-year term. He's been doing an absolutely wonderful job for us, but as it happens so many times, life happens, and he will not be able to do it. So we do have an opening for a second National Council rep. So if anybody is interested, we'd love to hear from you. Fortunately, we will have some representation, as Mick Wilson has agreed to stand for our second position, or now our first. So yeah, a big thank you to Paul, though. And because there are no conflicts in here, it's a claim, so we get to move on. There are a number of council appointed positions. Once again, Mike put together a slate. We do have the hospitality position, previously held by Art and Ann, open. Hopefully we will need it very soon, but probably not until a good way into 2022, I'm afraid. So this is your slate here. And now you get a break from me, as we'll switch over to Dave Chisholm to talk to some of the awards.
Okay, folks. So it's with great pleasure that I announce who the 2021 Paul Commission Observer of the Year award is. I had a number of submissions. It was a difficult choice. And so, Chris, can you reveal the winner of this award? It is Rick Wagner. Congratulations, Rick. Excellent log there. Very, very detailed. There's the picture of the plaque that you will get eventually. The Rolf Meyer Award for Planetary Observing. This one was a fairly easy choice because this individual does some amazing planetary observations. And it was the same person as last year, and that is Taras. So congratulations, Taras. Best presentation of the year. Now, who could this be? Chris? It's Pierre Martin for his 2020 and 2021 meteors. It was over, he did one in January, one in March. It was an excellent presentation. So congratulations there. And I've added an Image of the Year award with the council's permission, because I felt that we get so many wonderful images from everybody. And there was one outstanding image, and congratulations to Andrea for her Squid Nebula. That was an amazing image, and that's what you will eventually be getting. And okay, and there's the image itself. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Gordon Webster here. Just have to find him. There he is. And I'll replace the spotlight. There you go, Gordon.
Thanks, Dave. Every year this time, I have the privilege of reviewing the articles from the past year and selecting what I feel is an outstanding article. In the past years, I've selected based on scholarship, research, scientific value, the value to our center, and perhaps the quality of the writing. This year, the selection is based on most of those criteria, but also on sheer volume. It should come as no surprise that I've selected Rick Scholes for his year-long series on the FLO and the history of the FLO. Rick's series it's very readable. The articles have created an incredibly valuable resource for our center, documenting the history, the 50-year history of the FLO. Thank you, Rick, and congratulations. Also, while we're on the topic of the 50th anniversary, we had the Observing Challenge list that went out, and we did have some response to it. And the first submission, we had several responses, and from those responses, we drew a name, and that person will be awarded one of the FLO hoodies. And the name drawn was Richard Taylor, who was also the first to finish the challenge list. Thank you, and congratulations, Richard.
Okay, just a second here. I'm going to turn it back to our president here. Just give me a second. And see if there's any other business that we need to cover off tonight. There we go.
Okay. Just a quick note before I do make the call for other business. That slate of appointed positions, they will be confirmed by council at our next meeting. But I'd like to just quickly talk about council meetings. Something that people may not realize is Ottawa Centre Council meetings are completely open to any members. So if you have an interest in council, what's going on at council, perhaps have an interest in becoming a councillor, but want to know a little bit more about what goes on before you dive into the waters, the meetings are open. Now, Obviously, they're virtual right now, but you're more than welcome to join by Zoom. Dates for the meetings will be sent out to the membership via the email group. And all you'll need to do if you wish to join is send a notice to the secretary, and we'll be sure to have you in. They're not long. We do try and limit them to a couple of hours. And it would be great if you have any interest at all at becoming more involved in that aspect of the center. We'd love to see you there. And with that, I'll just make a call. Is there any other business? And then we can move on from the AGM.
There are no open questions, Stephen.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. So,
I move adjournment.
okay. That's all that's needed, isn't it, Chris?
Sounds good.
All righty. And
Please email meetingchair@ottawa.rac.ca, and I look forward to seeing Mick up in front of the camera and next month. So thank you, Mick, for putting your hand up to volunteer. Hopefully your arm's not hurting too much from the twisting.